Here's the good news, Brother Bobby. There will not be a test.
No. But if there was, I feel like I would be prepared.
I think we could really make a dent in progress. Well, I want to get back to the interview with Dr. Paul Eldridge. And kudos to Dr. Ron Ellis, who's the president of California Baptist University. 36% of the students are Hispanic students. Yeah. Praise God for that, and this Jasmine who shared her testimony and how the school affected her, and that's the kind of school where I think you want to send your son or daughter to attend.
Yeah, to me it was amazing the things that she shared from her mother's perspective. Yes. That her mother, just Spanish speaker, not an English speaker, right. The things that the school did to make her feel included and welcomed and a part of the process, which was just huge.
Well, I like her words. She said the school was very inviting to us and to my mom, and they pursued us. And, well, what a wonderful testimony. Yeah. I had the privilege of attending one of their graduation exercises. And it was amazing because you hear a Gonzalez and a Rodriguez and a Lopez and a Reyes and a Garcia and all these names of Hispanic students. I have never heard so many Hispanic surname students graduate at college. It was amazing. It was emotional because I had to call my wife and say, hey, you're not going to believe this. But I do want to say thanks you to God for Ron Ellis, for California Baptist University, and for Dr. Paul Eldridge, and the way they are making a dent in the lives of Hispanic students. They figured out the code, and they're doing what God has called them to do. So we want to invite you to consider that university, to consider any university that's making a dent in trying to help Hispanic students progress and do their best to become all that God has called them to do. So, Brother Bobby, we have a guest today. Would you introduce this
We do. We have a very special guest that I happen to know personally, have known for several years. She is just not only an incredible woman, she is a director at Ways of Faith, the church that I pastor. Her husband, Eric, is an elder at Ways of Faith. Right. Together, he's the youth pastor, but together they lead our high school youth. They have 3 awesome kids, 2 that are teenagers. One is the same age as my youngest son, Julian, and it's not uncommon for them to be texting each other, shenanigans and funny videos and things. But it's my pleasure. Let me introduce Keilah Villarreal, and let me just read her bio. It won't do her justice, but it says Keilah Villarreal is currently an education consultant at ESC Region 11 and a graduate assistant at Texas Women's University, also known as TWU. Yes. She earned her bachelor's degree from Hardin-Simmons University and worked in the field of education for 10 years before returning to school to earn her master's degree from TWU in 2012. She is now writing a dissertation in family studies to complete her doctoral degree.
Wow.
She's going to drop some knowledge on us today, Dr. Reyes. Keilah, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm doing really good. Thank you guys for inviting me. It's been fun.
So in the interview that we just watched, when she was asked, Jasmine was asked how many Latina PhDs does she know, and she said that she never met one until then. It's, to me, exciting because I know Keilah is a big advocate of education and higher education, but her story is unique. And so, Keilah, why don't you just tell us a little bit about your educational journey and your background and just set it all up for us?
Sure, that sounds good. So, growing up, we grew up in a military family, my sisters and I, and we moved a lot. So we had to restart at different schools often. And so sometimes I was behind in the curriculum. Often I was behind in the curriculum from the receiving state, from the sending state. So that was always an adjustment. I never really stood out much in the classroom. I was never a stellar student. My teachers didn't readily recognize really any strengths in me. I was kind of shy, timid, I guess you would say, probably until about 9th grade. And really after high school, I wasn't really planning on college, but my parents were planning on it. So they really said that I needed to go, and I did. I went, and they helped me out a lot financially. And then after that, I really never wanted to go back to school again. And it was really the Lord that called me into this master's and this PhD journey that I'm on right now.
Dr. Reyes, she just said something that really just stood out to me, and why what we're doing at the Faith in Education Coalition and raising the standards is so important when we talk about creating higher and equal standards for all kids, regardless of whether they go to high school in Southlake, Texas, or Stop 6, Texas, or Beverly Hills. You said, Keilah, that because you move so much that depending on which state you're moving to and from, sometimes you were ahead and sometimes you were behind.
Right.
What was that like? Because that's really what we advocate for and what one of our primary focuses is.
That's right.
Right, yeah. So highly mobile students, they face a lot of challenges. First of all, fitting in. That's a big one when you're young like that, all the way up until the age of 13. Fitting in is a really big deal. It kind of forms a little bit of your identity. Second of all, kind of having a intrastate curriculum, that's really important as well. So making sure that we have some national standards, which is what our federal dollars help us do, is also important.
I think that's really important because had there been consistent, standardized, studies and curriculum, you could have just gone from one state to the other and just kept on going. But because that's kind of been inconsistent in our country, it made it difficult for. I mean, the fact that you're working on a doctorate degree, that's somewhat a miracle, actually.
Oh, yeah.
To me, and
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, it's a miracle. I mean, how many Hispanic women do you know who are believers, are on this journey of getting a doctorate degree? There's just not that many.
Yeah.
I asked somebody recently, in fact, I asked Jasmine earlier, name for me all the Hispanic women that you know who are working on a doctorate degree or who have a doctorate degree, and she could only name one.
Yeah.
And I said, gee, that's, well, at least you know one. That's good. But I just want to tell you, I'm thankful to God for your journey that you'll complete, because you'll be another one that Jasmine and others can know who's made the journey, and you can help them to know, hey, listen, I love what you said. I wasn't a star in elementary school or in my early days, but with God's help, I can be more than a star. And that's what I'm seeing in your life, that God's really helped you to overcome some pretty major obstacles.
Yeah, I think so too. Definitely.
Yeah. So what is one challenge that you've overcome that God helped you to overcome on your journey academically?
Academically, academically, it would probably be just knowing that I have a path that can lead to success for me. I think I often saw academics or scholars as, I guess, more math or science oriented. And while I am in a field of science, it's really psychology that I'm in. And I think my strengths have always kind of leaned towards that. I've always naturally been a nurturing person and kind of understood what the student next to me needed. It just came very naturally to me. And when I found my field of study, family studies, really it's human development through a family lens, I was so excited because I knew then that finally I had a fit. And so finding that was really exciting. I think I don't ever really feel like I had a place until I found my major.
That's really a good word. That is really a good word. Finding your fit, counting on the family to help you, counting on God. Those are things that really made a difference, it sounds, for you.
Definitely, yeah.
I want to come back and ask you about what's it like for your children. Maybe you can just kind of really quickly tell me what do they feel like when mommy's studying? How does that affect your kids?
So at first, well, sometimes I have to study while they're awake, but really I try to do most of my studying while they're asleep, because I've always been excited to be a mom. When you're young, you play shop, or you play house, or you play school, or I've always played house. That was just I always wanted to be a mother. And so carving out that time for me, that worked well. And so I would just wait until they went to sleep and did most of my studying.
Excellent. Well, we want to show you a video about what is happening around the country with respect to faith and education. Our friend Abraham Hernandez has a word to share with you. Please watch him.
I think that our biggest problem with our education system is that in different school districts, different states, the goalposts are in different locations. The kids are just not receiving the same quality of education that they do in certain districts.
Well, thank you, Brother Abraham. We think that's an important piece for us to consider. I'm going to come back to our guest.
Please
I'm going
do,
to ask you, Keilah, what is one word, one tip or counsel that you would give a young lady who's watching, who just thinks maybe she's just an average student? What would you say to her today about that might be encouraging?
You know, I would really encourage you to build community around yourself. Building community and building a network of support is really important. Those are the people who speak into your lives, your parents and your mentors and teachers and things like that. Those are the people that speak into your lives. I really encourage you to do that and know that God has a purpose for you. God has a purpose for you here on this earth. Find out what that is. Find out what your strengths are if you're not sure right now.
That is a great
Wow.
word. You know,
Yeah.
we want to remind ourselves that God has a purpose. He's given us these strengths, and it's our job to ask Him to show us those strengths, that we might be able to exercise them and to do our best academically and outside of the school setting to honor God with all our lives, with all our heart, with all our mind. I mean, that's our theme verse.
Yeah.
And so we want to encourage you to keep watching the Faith and Education show, the Raising the Standard show, because we want to help you to do your best to honor God with all your heart, with all your